U.S. attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there, and it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder for them.
What if everything we thought we knew about Nicki Minaj and Diddy was just the tip of an iceberg, so deep, so dark, it would leave us speechless? What if the queen of rap, in a desperate bid to save her own reputation, had to make an unthinkable choice, cutting ties with one of the most powerful figures in music history? The whispers are growing louder, the dots are connecting, and the picture they form is terrifying. This isn't just about a falling out or a career move. No, this is about survival. About escaping the shadow of a man whose empire, once gilded with platinum records and luxury parties, now reeks of scandal, manipulation, and horror.
Today, in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is trafficking, racketeering, and more.
Let's start with the man himself, Sean Diddy Combs. For decades, he stood as a titan in the music industry, untouchable, untarnished, a symbol of success. But behind the glitz and glamour, behind the polished smile and the billion-dollar brand, there was a different story. A story of control, of exploitation, of a network where power wasn't just used, it was weaponized. Diddy's empire, as federal prosecutors now allege, wasn't just about music. It was a criminal enterprise, a machine that operated in the shadows, pulling strings, silencing voices, and forcing those under his control to play roles they never signed up for. And where does Nicki come in? Their history goes back years, to a time when Nicki Minaj was still carving her path in the industry. Diddy wasn't just a mentor, he was her manager, the man behind the curtain helping to guide her rise, or at least, that's how it seemed on the surface. But what if their professional relationship was far more complicated? What if it was built on a foundation of control and coercion? The same tactics Diddy allegedly used to keep others in line. Could it be that even Nicki, with all her power and influence, found herself ensnared in his web? We've all noticed the subtle moves. Nicki unfollowing Diddy on Instagram, her pointed silence as his legal troubles deepened. But these aren't just random acts. They're calculated steps, a quiet but deliberate distancing. It's as if she's trying to scrub away any trace of their connection, as if she knows the storm that's coming and wants to be as far away from it as possible. And can we blame her? As the allegations mount, trafficking, coercion, even violence. The question isn't just what Diddy has done, but who knew about it. Was Nicki aware of the inner workings of his so-called freak-offs? Did she see the warning signs years before the rest of us? And if so, why did she stay silent?
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not by accident.
Think about it. Diddy's alleged exploits weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a system, a carefully orchestrated network where employees, associates, and even artists were allegedly forced to play their part. Victims have described being pressured to transport packages across state lines, to participate in sordid parties where consent was blurred and boundaries were shattered. And now, rumors are swirling that Nicki herself may have been dragged into this world, not as a willing participant, but as another pawn in Diddy's game. Could it be that she was once forced to help cover his tracks, to carry his secrets, to protect him, even at the expense of her own integrity? The thought is chilling. And yet, the more we dig, the more it starts to make sense. Nicki's rise to fame wasn't just meteoric, it was strategic. She played the game better than anyone, aligning herself with the right people at the right time. But what if, in doing so, she got too close to the wrong person? What if her early career success came with strings attached? Strings that Diddy held tightly in his grasp. If she wanted to escape, it wouldn't have been easy. Walking away from Diddy wasn't just a matter of changing management, it was a matter of breaking free from the shadow of a man who, according to prosecutors, would stop at nothing to protect his empire.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible things.
And here's where things get even darker. The allegations against Diddy aren't just about him, they're about the culture he created, a culture of fear and silence. We've heard the testimonies, assistants setting up hotel rooms for days-long encounters, cash changing hands for unnamed purposes, and victims too scared to speak out for years. Could Nicki have been one of those victims? Not in the same way, perhaps, but in a way that left her feeling trapped, complicit, and desperate to escape? And if so, what does that say about the industry as a whole, about the price of fame, and the lengths to which some will go to hold onto it? The clues are there if we're willing to see them. Nicki's decision to unfollow Diddy might seem small, but in the world of social media where every move is scrutinized, it speaks volumes. It's not just about cutting ties, it's about sending a message that says, I'm done, I'm out, don't drag me into this. But is it enough? Because as much as she might want to distance herself, the fact remains their histories are intertwined. And as the scandals surrounding Diddy grow, so too does the scrutiny on those who were once in his orbit.
Jurors heard testimony from a key prosecution witness in Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial in New York City Tuesday. His ex-girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura spoke about her 10-year relationship with Combs and the psychological, physical, and abuse she says she endured. Ventura first leveled accusations against Combs in a 2023 lawsuit, which was settled a day later. Dozens of men and women have filed suits against him since 2020.
Let's not forget the rumors about the leaked audio clip, the one involving Meek and Diddy, allegedly recorded during one of these infamous freak-offs. Jajwa Wright, never one to mince words, has claimed that Nicki was behind it, that she'd been sitting on this explosive evidence for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. If true, it raises even more questions. Why would she record it in the first place? Was it a form of protection? A way to ensure she had leverage if she ever needed it? Or was it something darker, a sign that she knew more than she let on, that she was closer to the chaos than we ever imagined? And then there's the timing. Diddy's legal troubles didn't just appear out of nowhere. They've been brewing for years. The lawsuits, the testimonies, the shocking revelations, they all paint a picture of a man who built his empire on a foundation of exploitation and abuse. But why now? Why is everything coming to light at this particular moment? Could it be that the walls are finally closing in, that the people who once protected him are now turning against him? Could Nicki, in her own quiet way, be one of them?
Drika, how would you describe Cassie's demeanor when she took the stand today?
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact.
There's so much we don't know, so much that's still shrouded in mystery, but one thing is clear. This isn't just a story about one man's downfall. It's a story about power, about control, about the invisible chains that bind even the most successful among us. It's about Nicki Minaj, a woman who's built her brand on strength and independence, and the questions that now surround her past. Did she know what was happening behind closed doors? Did she play a role, however unwilling, in keeping Diddy's secrets? And most importantly, did she see this coming? The collapse of an empire, the unmasking of a man who once seemed untouchable. We're left wondering, holding our breath as the pieces of this puzzle slowly come together. What else is out there, waiting to be uncovered? What other secrets are hiding in the shadows, ready to explode into the light? And how much longer can the truth stay buried? But here's where things get even more sinister. Whispers of a so-called blackmail vault have haunted Diddy's reputation for years, and as his empire crumbles, those whispers are growing louder. Allegedly, Diddy held onto a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. Videos, audio recordings, documents, not just for his own amusement, but as leverage. Celebrities, executives, artists, anyone who participated in his infamous freak-offs may have, unknowingly, left behind a trail of secrets. Could it be that this vault contains the kind of damning material that could destroy careers, shatter relationships, and even end empires? And if it does, is Nicki among those who had something to fear?
But she was only on the stand for about 30 minutes, and the big takeaway is this story that she tells regarding the email she got from her daughter in December of 2011. This is where Cassie Ventura writes her mother and another person explaining or expressing that Sean Puffy Combs, she said, threatened to put out explicit videos of her. Again, this is around the holiday time, and also saying that he would do something to the person that she was.
Let's consider the timing of Nicki's quiet distancing from Diddy. Some might call it coincidence, but in Hollywood, there's no such thing. Could she have realized that her name, or worse, her face or voice, might be buried somewhere in that vault? After all, Diddy wasn't just a business partner, he was a gatekeeper, someone who could make or break an artist's career. If she participated in his world, even tangentially, there's every chance that he documented it. And now, with Diddy's trial looming and prosecutors reportedly seeking to unearth all of his hidden assets, Nicki's move to sever ties seems less like a professional decision and more like a tactical retreat. Is it possible that her silence isn't about loyalty or professionalism, but self-preservation? Here's the kicker. What if Nicki's actions to distance herself weren't just about protecting her reputation, but about protecting herself from Diddy's potential retaliation? If the rumors are true, Diddy didn't just hold people close, he held them hostage, metaphorically speaking. He allegedly used his power, his influence, and yes, his blackmail vault to ensure loyalty. So, if Nicki chose to step away, what did that mean for her safety? Was she taking a massive gamble, betting that Diddy's legal troubles would render him powerless? Or was she simply so desperate to escape that she was willing to risk it all?
So Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then this criminal case.
And let's not forget the allegations from Cassie and others. Time and time again, the testimonies reveal the same chilling patterns: coercion, manipulation, and even outright threats. Cassie's lawsuit painted a harrowing picture of Diddy's tactics, accusing him of using fear and control to keep her silent and compliant. Other women have come forward with strikingly similar stories, describing how they were allegedly lured into his world only to find themselves trapped. If these allegations are true, then it's not hard to imagine how Diddy might have wielded his influence over Nicki during their years of collaboration. Was she just another pawn in his game, forced to play along to protect her career? Or did she see the writing on the wall early and decide to quietly plot her escape? The most recent testimony from Cassie brought even more shocking revelations to light, painting a picture of systemic manipulation within Diddy's circle. She described hotel nights that lasted for days, where she was allegedly coerced into participating in elaborate group encounters orchestrated entirely by Diddy. According to her, these weren't spontaneous or consensual events, but carefully planned operations designed to stroke Diddy's ego while degrading everyone else involved. Cassie claimed that assistants would set up rooms in advance, ensure the availability of certain substances, and even prepare attendees for what was expected of them. Everything was controlled, every detail accounted for, leaving no room for protest.
Centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
In one particularly harrowing account, Cassie recounted a time when she tried to refuse participation in one of these encounters. She claimed Diddy's response was a chilling reminder of his control, allegedly threatening her financial stability and reminding her of how much she depended on him. The psychological pressure alone, she said, was enough to force compliance. But what's even more disturbing is that Cassie's stories have echoed across other allegations from different women, suggesting a pattern that spanned years, if not decades. Was this simply how Diddy operated, and how many other women found themselves in similar situations, too afraid to speak out? Prosecutors have reportedly obtained evidence that supports Cassie's claims, including text messages, receipts, and even surveillance footage of Diddy's infamous hotel nights. This evidence reportedly shows the lengths to which Diddy's team went to protect his secrets, from confiscating phones to monitoring the location of participants. The question is, if this evidence is so damning, what else might it reveal? Could there be other high-profile names tied to these events? Cassie may have been Diddy's most public accuser, but she's far from the only one.
The judge is hopeful that that could be concluded as soon as Wednesday, with opening statements in the case beginning next week and then the beginning of the evidence. So Combs has pleaded not guilty. He has said, his lawyers have said, that all of these allegations are the prosecutors trying to criminalize his sexual activity that they say was entirely consensual.
The courtroom itself has been the scene of emotional breakdowns, with Cassie visibly shaken multiple times during her testimony. At one point, she detailed an incident where Diddy allegedly became violent after she expressed her desire to leave their relationship. She described being forced to stay not just out of fear for her safety, but because of the immense power Diddy wielded over her career. This wasn't just a personal relationship gone wrong. It was a toxic power dynamic that blurred the lines between business and personal life in the worst possible way. What makes Cassie's testimony so critical is the ripple effect it's having on the case. Her willingness to speak out has reportedly encouraged other women to come forward with similar accounts, many of whom had been silenced for years. Some of these new allegations are even more extreme, involving claims of physical threats and forced participation in acts they never consented to. Cassie's bravery in court could very well be the domino that brings Diddy's entire empire crashing down. But with that bravery comes risk, and it's clear that she's not just fighting for justice. She's fighting against a system that thrives on secrecy and silence.
And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
The leaked audio clip involving Diddy and Meek Mill adds another layer of intrigue. Jaguar Wright's claim that Nicki was behind the leak is explosive, to say the least. If true, it could suggest that Nicki wasn't just distancing herself from Diddy, she was actively working to expose him. But why? Was it revenge? A calculated attempt to topple the man who once held her career in his hands? Or was it something more personal? Could it be that Nicki, like so many others, was a victim of Diddy's control? Someone who finally found the courage to fight back? And if she did leak the audio, what does that say about her knowledge of Diddy's alleged crimes? Did she know more than she let on? The speculation doesn't end there. Some have suggested that Nicki's silence in the wake of Diddy's scandals isn't just about self-preservation, it's about complicity. After all, if she was close enough to him to be managed by him, to appear at his parties, to collaborate with him professionally, then how much did she really know? Did she witness the darker side of his empire? Did she see the victims, hear the stories, and choose to look the other way? Or was she so deeply entrenched in the industry's culture of silence that she felt powerless to speak out?
The question is he a criminal? Is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises? And while it's very clear to me he is a depraved, disgusting person, we have to prove that he violated the law.
But here's the twist. If Diddy's alleged blackmail vault does exist, it might not stay hidden for long. Prosecutors are reportedly pulling out all the stops to build their case against him, and that means digging into every corner of his empire. If the vault is real, and if it contains the kind of evidence that could implicate others, then no one is safe, not even Nicki. Imagine the fallout if those files were to be revealed in court. Imagine the headlines, the scandals, the careers destroyed in an instant. And imagine Nicki, sitting at the center of it all, trying to explain her connection to a man whose empire is built on secret. We can't ignore the sheer scale of what's at stake here. Diddy's trial isn't just about him. It's about an entire industry, an entire culture, and the powerful figures who thrive in its shadows. If the allegations are true, then his empire isn't just crumbling, it's imploding, and the shockwaves are going to be felt far and wide. And if Nicki is caught in the blast, what will it mean for her career, for her legacy, for the music industry as a whole? The questions are endless, and the answers are elusive. But one thing is certain, this story is far from over. The trial, the testimonies, the evidence, it's all building towards something huge, something that could change the game forever. And as we wait for the next twist, we can't help but wonder, what other secrets are waiting to be uncovered? What other names might be dragged into the spotlight? And most importantly, how far are people willing to go to protect themselves in a world where power, control, and silence rule?
They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering, and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act. And they hung 6 to 6 on
So what do you think? Is Nicki Minaj a victim, a strategist, or something else entirely? Could Diddy's alleged blackmail vault hold the key to unraveling the entire entertainment industry? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, in Hollywood, the truth is always stranger than fiction. That's it for today, but trust us, this is just the beginning. Stay tuned because the next chapter of this story could change everything. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your ears to the ground.